Hi, my name is Beverly Schaefer. I co-own Caterman Sandpoint Pharmacy in Seattle, Washington. And my topic today is going to be functional medicine A to Zinc and getting started with scheduling appointments for customers. So you actually need to do some preparation ahead of time before you take the plunge to do appointment-based encounters. It needs to feel professional. It needs to feel sort of like a billable encounter. It needs to have some takeaway for the patient, whether it's written instructions, whether it's printed articles or printed reference materials, but make this a good encounter for everybody. Everybody should feel good when this is over, that they've gotten their value and their money's worth, they've gotten their questions answered. So the very first thing that you would do would be to think about what service you would like to offer on an appointment base, whether it's brown bags, whether it's travel consults. Maybe we would look at nutrient depletion and something like that, some assessment of supplements, some discussion of supplements. People are very, very interested in aging well. So maybe aging would be a topic that you could discuss. And whatever service that you decide to offer, talk about it with your staff first. Your staff needs to be able to answer a few general questions from people if they have questions about this service. So it's something that people in the front end, people in the pharmacy should all be fluent in what this consultation process involves. They should know how long the appointments are booked for. They should know what days of the week they're going to be booked for. They should know who the consult is going to be with. If more than one pharmacist is going to be involved in consults, you can set up the electronic scheduling so people can choose who they want to have the consult with. So anytime there's change in a pharmacy, your customers are highly aware of it. So if you are rearranging shelves, if you are putting up walls, if you're making space changes, they're really aware of it. And so what you do is you start talking to all these customers about the fact that you're making change, and we're going to have pharmacist appointments. You want to create a private space that you can have these little counseling meetings in. If you have an immunization booth, you can use your immunization booth if you have it free for 30 minutes at a time. Ours is too busy to do that. We actually discovered that we had to create a second private space for counseling. And that's worked out really well, because when I take people into a different space than they're used to for the immunization, they again recognize that this is something unique and something that we've set up especially for them. You're going to need to develop some forms for each encounter. If these are people you know, that's one thing, but there may be people that you don't know that are coming in to use this service. So you need something that looks like an intake form, something that's got a little patient information, maybe a little short medical history, the reason that they're there, and then leave room to write whatever recommendation and topics that you discuss so that you can use this as a permanent record. In addition to an intake form, you would need something maybe to send them home with, maybe some reprints of articles, maybe some reference material for whatever condition they want to discuss, maybe reference material for referral sources if you're going to refer them to some other provider. You need to think about how you want the schedule to work. We do all of our appointment setting online. That works out well for everybody. The person making the appointment needs to give their email address and their telephone numbers so that if there's any snag or kink in the schedule, you have a means of contacting them. And if they want to add any additional information for you, if it's a travel appointment, they can add the destination of where they're going. They can add whether it's for one person or two persons. And if you're timid about charging for this service, what I would say is set up an appointment-based calendar, and you can put whatever price you want on this appointment. Let's say if it's going to be a half-an-hour appointment, you're going to charge $49 for a half-hour appointment. And you're timid about charging for something that you normally don't do, you can give them a coupon for $40 off for the first appointment, so that it doesn't really end up costing the patient very much, But think of what this is changing the paradigm between the pharmacist and the patient. All of a sudden, you are a health counselor for this patient. They regard you in a different way. Your advice has always been valuable to them. And now we're helping them understand that in order to do this service, this is something that's meaningful to both of you if you have the time and the space to do it in. You can have them whatever increment you want. You can have them 15 minutes, you can have them 20 minutes, you can have them 30 minutes. And you need to come up with a price that's appropriate for however much time you're going to do. We do them in half-an-hour increments. There are certain days of the week that we try to do these encounters. We used to do it all day. We used to do it from 11 to 5. People could make appointments, but often after school and on the way home from work has gotten really busy, so we try to block out those appointment times. We actually include a couple of Saturdays every month because there are people that come to the pharmacy on Saturday that can't come other days, and we can block out times if there's no one available or no one there. And if there are scheduling conflicts, we can call the patient and change it if we need to. If the scheduling becomes too complex or the scheduling becomes too often, you have control of that schedule. Instead of scheduling half-hour increment appointments, schedule them for an hour apiece. You don't spend an hour, but that way you could have a half-hour encounter and then a half hour to do something else. Our challenges were that we needed to allow enough time, and once we figured out that we didn't need to do it every day, that we could actually set aside Wednesdays and Saturdays or something like that, we tried a variety of weekday and weekend hours. We tried both morning and late afternoon appointments. Some of it was deciding what time people wanted these appointments and what time would work for the pharmacy and pharmacy staff. So the timing of the appointments was a little tricky at first. We stumbled upon doing it electronically. That was a huge improvement as opposed to pencil and paper and getting the appointment times not quite right and not getting enough information from people over the phone. So the appointment times requires an email and a phone number, and that's very helpful. And my recommendation would be to set maybe aside a day where there are 2 pharmacists on duty or 3 pharmacists on duty, and one pharmacist has the ability to be in half-hour consults or 15-minute consults with patients at any given day. We started with travel immunizations and travel appointments, but we've expanded that to other appointments for other services in the pharmacy. So sometimes patients bring their own topics to the table and they'll want to make an appointment. Sometimes it's regarding a batch of medications that they have. They can't remember why they're taking the medications, they're taking supplements that they don't know why they got started on. And a lot of pharmacies call this a brown bag. And typically we don't charge for brown bags, but it's valuable to patients. It's valuable to adult patients of seniors to have this brown bag conversation. Typically, if you allowed half an hour for that time, you would be able to accomplish quite a bit in that time. You'd be able to reassure the customer if they are taking their medications that are the most current ones. You would be able to reassure them that they're taking supplements that would be appropriate to their conditions. You would be able to kind of go through their stash of medicines and discard any that were not appropriate or were outdated. You can't just sit in a corner and talk about getting old. You have to offer some solutions or some supplements maybe or some lifestyle changes. And that actually is, that does have high interest, is lifestyle changes and monitoring them. So essentially you could become a health coach to these people, and they can touch base with you, a trusted professional that's in their community, and make lifestyle changes and discuss them with you, how they're going, what's working, what's not working. Do we need to make switches? Do we need to make changes? Do we need additions, subtractions? There's a lot of things that you're already doing that people actually are willing to have one-on-one time with a pharmacist.